All right, y'all. So Jordan Peterson was confronted by George Janko. Essentially, here's a question. How come you don't say that you're a Christian in public? There was a huge story that came out due to this video right here. Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists, posted a month ago. Originally, if I'm not mistaken, when this video first came out, the title was One Christian versus 20 Atheists. But because Jordan Peterson was not willing to call himself a Christian, they changed the title completely to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. So George Janko wants clarification, as many of us do, because I think, you know, whatever you think about Jordan Peterson, there's a lot of opinions about Jordan Peterson. Whatever you think about Jordan Peterson, I think that he 100% is an individual who has been touched by God in some way, shape, or form. And I think as believers, which most of us watching this video, I assume are believers, right? I think we want to hear that proclamation. So let's see what happened.
Won't turn this podcast on, as we're not doing a counseling again. But thank you for asking those questions.
No,
very
I
sweet.
appreciate it.
My last question for you, and it's such a curious one.
And let me just say this. When I say believers, we want to hear the proclamation, I'm not saying he has to prove anything, but I think it would be extremely impactful for the kingdom of God if he made that proclamation based on the platform that he has. And I think that's why a lot of believers want to hear him say that. So just to clarify.
That a lot of people want to know, why is it that when people ask you if you're a Christian, you don't really answer it like straightforward, like, yeah, I follow Jesus Christ, I'm a Christian?
Because the question is almost always manipulative. That it's not really a question. It's a demand. It's a veiled demand that I declare my allegiance in the manner they see fit at that moment. It's like, no, thank you. First of all, that's a relatively private matter. And second, just exactly what the hell are you up to? So that's the general.
But
you know, and I'm not interested in trumpeting it. You know, I'm still figuring things out, and I'm trying to explain what I'm learning as I go. And I don't want to parade my virtuous faith, you know, as a proclamation. I think that's false. You know, people can decide for themselves, if they're interested, what I'm up to by watching. If they're interested, what I do. They can derive their own conclusions. And
judge them by their fruit.
That's the theory. Yeah. Right. Right.
Judge them by the fruit.
When people say, too, that they're a Christian, I actually generally don't really know what they mean. I mean, you guys laid it out, and you provided some indication of what you meant in this decision that you just made.
He has a solid point there, especially today when people say they're a Christian. I don't know what they mean either, because I'm like, there's so many different interpretations of what it means to be a Christian. Like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. I don't get it. For example, and I don't want to keep going back to this, but my mind is still blown. For example, Glorilla. Glorilla saying she a Christian. They give her the best gospel record. But then on her Instagram, you go to Instagram, the very next post is her in twerking and all that type of stuff. Like, well, I don't know what you mean. I don't get it. I don't understand. What the very next song that she posts is straight back to the vulgar, straight back to the wickedness, straight back to the promoting sin. I don't know what you mean. I don't get it. And I'm not trying to pick on Glorilla. It's just still fresh in my mind that there's a group of people, and I understand it's BT, but there's a group of people who are acknowledging and recognizing that this individual is somebody that should be looked at as an example and awarded in a category that is supposed to be about preaching the gospel, but yet they don't preach the gospel in gospel music anymore. I don't understand. I don't know. I digress. Let's continue.
That's actually worth attending to, in my estimation, more than a casual declaration. And so I'm not that interested in casual declarations. And people declare their Christianity all the time. And part of me thinks, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, right? So be careful what you claim. It's a high bar.
I agree. And I can tell this is very like sensitive to you because I feel like you know what it is, that Jubilee thing isn't your first rodeo. It's not the first time you've been around wolves that are trying to manipulate you. And I understand that it is a touchy subject, but you're such a good reflection of Christians. And you're such a good outspoken man that's actually doing something not only for our country, but for the country that you came from. And so I just find that weak men or weak women will look at that as a way of you saying, no, I don't want to be a part of that. When they're watching you be so wise and you just waving the flag of confidently, even if they're trying to approach you in a negative way, be like, no, I am a man of God. Jesus is my God. Then does the Bible verse scare you when they say that they'll deny me in public? I'll deny you in front of my Father. Because you're denying them because they're trying to set you in a trap. But would you not have confidence?
I'm denying the questioner ownership over my tongue. I don't like having people put words in my mouth.
So what do you classify yourself as? Like if Jesus came down right now, would you be his son? Or would you be somebody who's studying Jesus? Like where does your heart lie right now? Who is your God? And I'm not trying to trap you or to be disrespectful. I just want to know where your heart lies, because the wisdom that you're pouring out into people is something that, dude, we promote it on our show and we learn from it and we grow from it. So I just want to know who, because I see you as my mentor.
What do you think?
Hold on. That was a heck of a question. Who is your God? That's a very bold question, George. And I like it.
Watching?
I see you as, my perspective is that you are a God-fearing man. You're learning and you're taking what God gave you and you're teaching others. From your fruits, if I tasted them, I said, this is a righteous man that's after God's heart, like David. But then your mouth will say, who says that I'm a Christian? So it does confuse me as somebody who does watch you.
That's a good answer. I don't know how to add to that, to what you already said. I'm trying to find my way, and I'm communicating with people about that voyage as clearly as I possibly can.
You're just being honest. You're back to when you were writing everything and it's just the truth. As of right now, you're Dr. Jordan Peterson is a man after God's heart, and you're finding it. Is this the best way that they could describe you?
That's good.
I like that. And also I see that. I think
I'd rather let other people decide.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd rather let other people. I'm public, painfully public, and so people can draw their own conclusions. And if they want a casual conclusion, I'm not interested in providing that. And so I don't want to tie everything up in a bow and deliver it as if it's something simple. It's not simple, and so it's not like I'm trying to be opaque. You know, when you asked me that question, I'm looking for the words. It's why I asked you what you thought. If I could find the words that would be sufficiently solid, then I would use them.
Have you ever asked God to help you with that?
Yes, I would say I've asked that all the time. All the time. You know, part of seeking for the right words is that's an attitude of continual prayer. Is this the right word? You ought to feel that out. You're pretty good at that, by the way. You're pretty careful in your choice of words.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so you feel to see if you're stepping on firm ground. And if I find firm ground, then I'll use those words. And if not, then I try not to. And so you can't decide a priori what words are going to come to you, right? You can.
I also think, much like us, much like myself, there's a lot of unpacking the past. There's a lot of going back and analyzing what we used to believe in and comparing that to what God says and trying to make sense of it. And like that's a process. And it's not simple. It's not simple. Because most people, let me just use myself as an example, because I don't know y'all. But most people, myself, I don't know why I said that again. Myself, when I gave my life to Christ, right? I didn't really know what I was doing. but I was broken. I was in the lowest season of my life. And I was coming off of what I thought was the highest season of my life. But that ultimately became the lowest season of my life. And then I gave my life to Jesus as a last resort. Because it was like, what do I have to lose at this point? I've already lost. So what do I have to lose? I literally don't have anything to lose. I lost. So yeah, I'll try it. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. But then I encountered Jesus, or he encountered me, whatever way you want to put it, I don't know. And then from that moment on, I was impacted. I was changed forever. It was like the veil was lifted, but still, it wasn't like I was completely sold out for Jesus. It wasn't like I was willing to give up my old life or my old thought patterns or my old sin. It wasn't like that. It was still a wrestle. It was still an unpacking. It was still, I'm trying to figure this out. It was still, what if I'm wrong? So it's not an easy thing. I think now, at the point I am in my faith now, I think now it's gotten a lot easier. But at that point in time, in the earlier stages, because what did he say? He said, I'm still trying to figure things out. He said, I'm trying to find my way. So based on those statements, I'm assuming that those words mean exactly what he's saying, is that he's still trying to figure it out. He's still trying to find his way. And when I was in that state of mind, when I was in that process of trying to figure out what is real and what is not, and still trying to find my way, I don't necessarily know if I would have said I was a Christian if you asked me that question. So just from a human standpoint, I get it to the extent that I can, based on the context that I have, because I've never had a conversation with him. It is very fascinating. Let's continue.
Try to find the words that put firm ground under your feet and be content with them. So when people ask me that question, I guess partly because I'm leery of the question first. There aren't words that spring to mind that will satisfy an ill-aimed question. People think it's obvious. They ask things like, do you believe in God? And I don't answer that question because I don't know what the hell you mean by the question. There isn't a more difficult question than that. Like, that is the hardest question. Well, it's simple. You say yes or no. It's simple, is it? It's simple, is it? The entire religious enterprise of the human race for the multiple millennia we've been pursuing our upward aim, that's all simple. It's not simple. What does believe mean? Does it mean you go to the cross willingly? And if that's what it meant, would you say that you believe? Because that's what it means. So be careful what you claim to believe.
You know, how I see it when you explain this, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see you in a humble position. Because to me, do you think that it's the matter of we'll never truly be able to fully understand the knowledge that God has, right? So who's to say, how would we be able to come to the conclusion of what's right or what's wrong, or what's the right way to do it or what's the wrong way to do it, which category we should be in? Only God knows the real truth of it. So in your eyes, do you kind of see it in a way where you don't want to necessarily attach yourself to a certain category because you don't know, and we all don't know? The only
Well,
person
it's
who
also,
knows.
I'm useful not being in a category, as it turns out. So
Why though?
That's interesting. I'm useful not being in a category. I'm thinking about what Paul said.
for the same reason that the frog in the Frog Prince is the one that brings the golden ball to the surface. A frog lives on land and in the water, right? He's a border dweller. Well, that's my position. I'm a border dweller. That's a psychopomp. A psychopomp is a what? It's a messenger of the gods. That's a hell of a thing to say. But I'm trying to aid people in their understanding of these deep traditions. And to do that, I have to straddle worlds. And so I'm unwilling to give up that position because it seems useful. You know, there's a Christian revival at work now in the West. Well, that's partly because people are beginning to understand the stories. And I hope that will continue. It better continue, because if it doesn't continue, all hell is going to break loose.
Yeah.
Right. You can see the signs everywhere.
Yeah.
See, I could listen to that same exact clip that we just listened to. I could probably listen to it 10 times and give you 10 different commentaries. Because, and once again, I'm not trying to perpetuate this notion that he has to say what he believes to us to justify to us. I'm not trying to say that, but I still am a little bit confused. I still am. I remember watching that video of him. I think it was Diary of a CEO. And he was asked a similar question. And he didn't directly say that he was a Christian, but the way that he articulated around it sure presented a convincing case that he is. And once again, it's not about proving anything to me or to y'all or to anybody, because just like, you know, George's wife was saying, God knows the heart. Only he knows the heart. Only he knows the heart. But I'm just coming from the standpoint of like, yo, I think that would be incredible just based on the influence that he has. I think it would be incredible if he made that just bold declaration and what that could stir up. Because he's talking about a revival. I think it would be incredible if he could, you know, add to that revival and really, you know, help to stir people's hearts in that direction so that they could potentially find God. And that's what Paul was kind of saying, because I was thinking about this in 1 Corinthians. And I don't know how closely this relates, but I was thinking about this in 1 Corinthians. This is 1 Corinthians 9. He said, verse 19, "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them." I'm trying to find the right word. Ambitious, audacious, one of the two, or a combination of both. I don't know, but that is a wild statement. For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. That I might win more of them. To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though not being myself under the law, that I might win those under the law. Verse 21, to those outside the law I became as one outside the law, not being outside the law of God, but under the law of Christ, that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become, oh my goodness, listen, I have become all things to all people. Once again, I don't know what the correct term is. Ambitious, audacious, a combination of both of them. He said, I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I became all things to all people so that I might save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings. Is that what he's alluding to where Jordan Peterson was talking about how he's, the frog, and I don't know what that story was about, but he said he's a border dweller. He's on the line. He's on the fence. He's on the fence. How I perceive what he's saying, he's on the fence from the standpoint of public perception in order to reach people who don't know God. That's the way I perceive it. And I could be wrong, but that's just the way I perceive it. But is this what he means? He also said, I thought this was very interesting. He said, be careful what you claim in regard to God, being a Christian. Be careful what you claim. It's a high bar. It is a high bar. It is a high bar. But, and I can see, I can understand fragments of what he's saying. It is a high bar. But what exactly are you claiming? What exactly are you claiming? Because at the end of the day, we didn't do anything except receive grace and mercy. That's all we did. We didn't do anything. All we did as believers, as Christians, all we did was receive grace and mercy as a free gift. That's all we did. That's all we did. Jesus defeated sin. He defeated death on the cross, giving us a pathway to righteousness for those who put their faith in him and receive that free gift, right? All we did was receive. So because of what Jesus did, we are seen as righteous. But we didn't do anything. So yes, the bar is high. But the only one who perfectly measures up perfectly is Jesus. And that's what we're proclaiming. That's what we're proclaiming. Now, from the standpoint of how we're called to live, we are called to live to a standard that is pleasing to God. We are called to be set apart from the world. We are called to be the salt of the world, not to blend and contribute to its destruction, but to add preservation so that those who encounter us can be led to Jesus and be saved for the glory of God. Within that, yes, there is difficulties. It is tough. It is a struggle. To live for Jesus and deny yourself every single day is not easy. It's a struggle. It's literally categorized as a battle between your flesh and the spirit, who are literally at odds. They're literally at war. There's nothing simple about it. It is difficult. Yes. It is a high bar. But thankfully, we don't have to do it alone. Thankfully, we don't have to do it alone. But like I said, I understand fragments of what he's saying to the extent that I can, given the fact that I've never had a conversation with him. That was a very interesting dialogue. I appreciate that. I'm here for it. Let me know what you think, though. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.